Call the Broken Arrow City Council meeting to order. We have an invocation by Pastor Chauncey.
Good evening, everyone. Let's bow our heads to pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you and praise you for this great city of Broken Arrow. And we thank you for all that you are doing here. We lift up this entire city council and everyone else who works for the city. We thank you, Lord, for the prosperity and economic increase over this city. We thank you, oh God, for your constant protection. And we ask that there would be unity in tonight's meeting. We thank you, God, for the wisdom that's needed to make right decisions for Broken Arrow. And we thank you for your sovereign will always being done here at all times. We thank and praise you for hearing and answering our prayers tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks.
Here.
Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Computer seems a little slow this evening.
Hit it again.
You should be able to vote now.
Not yet. There it is.
There it is.
Okay. Okay. All right. Item 7, public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognitions, and awards. 7A is presentation of post-event update for the 2023 Keep Broken Arrow Beautiful Rose Festival. Jennifer Rush.
All right, wonderful. Well, Mayor, if it's okay with you, we have Keep Broken Arrow Beautiful and Arts OK here, and they were going to do their presentation together, even though it's two separate items. But we had the Rose Festival, and each of these groups, Rose Festival and with Chalk It Up, they received funding from Visit Broken Arrow in the amount of $7,500 for grants, and that's to put on this festival. And so they are coming before you to give updates about how that went.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we work together, I feel like it's a little complicated, so it felt like we should probably team up together. I think we work well together. We each have our parts that we're responsible for. So Arts OK is responsible for the chalk artists, of course, and the chalk festival. The chalk artists, we had over 50 artists drawing this year. It was pretty exciting. We ran out of room. And so we're hoping to continue to run out of room and just keep growing and growing and growing. It's difficult to grow that festival because we can only grow so far north and south. So we're planning this next year to try to grow east and west to let even more people participate. I do have a few numbers as far as, because we share the vendor artists. So this year we had over 60 vendor artist spaces. That's the most that we've ever had. I can tell you that about a third of them were Broken Arrow artists, about a third of them were Tulsa artists, and then the other ones came from all over the state, mostly northeastern Oklahoma, but we had people as far away as Tahlequah and Stillwater, and some Oklahoma City artists too. We keep our prices low for those vendor artists. That's partially thanks to you guys. But it's awesome because it allows us to get artists in here that they're not necessarily professional. They're dipping their toe in the water and trying to see, and they're trying to figure out if they can make money at this. So we appreciate your support and allowing us to give that benefit to those artists. Our chalk artists were mostly Broken Arrow. I have a fancy, I'm learning, guys, I'm learning to get data, okay? So our chalk artists were mostly from the Broken Arrow area, but we did have one artist all the way from Michigan. So that was kind of cool. He has friends in town, and when he saw that we were doing a chalk contest, he came to join the contest and visit his friends. So we also did a show, just so that you know, we do a show every year. Well, we collaborate with the Rose Festival, and we do a show now in our gallery. And so I'm kind of excited about this. I think we had like around 115 artists submit work. They were pre-K all the way through senior citizen. I would say 90% of them were not professional artists. We decided this year to do an opening just like we do for all of our other shows in the Art Center. And it was so cool because those pre-K guys felt like they were just as important as those professional artists. So it was really, really neat. And the funding that you guys give us helps us to be able to do that. So I will let the Rose Festival take over from here.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Beverly Forrester with the Rose Festival, and this is Patricia Foster. She was a co-chair this year, and our other co-chair was Felisa Hilbert. I don't know if you know her or not, but she's in Mexico, so we're filling in for that. We're excited that the Rose Festival has grown so much. It started in 2014, and our desire was to be a destination place for the city, and it's grown and grown and grown. I can tell you that we are so grateful for your funding. We are all about a free event, so everything we're doing is free. We also invite people from all over the state. It's just important to us to have people come and see our city. So Tricia's going to fill us in a little bit on some of the things that we do, and come back to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in the interest of time, we get really excited about this stuff, so we could go on all night. But I know we're not allowed to do that, so we're just going to highlight on some of the things we do at the Rose Festival. Like Beverly said, it's family friendly. It's a whole weekend, free. There's no reason somebody cannot come. We want everything to be free. We have a free kids zone, which Beverly will tell us about here in a little bit. Some of the highlights, we have, of course, the Rose Show. Anybody can enter their roses. We have 3 well-qualified judges that know everything roses. There are ribbons to be won and cash prizes. And we also have the welcome booth. Can you?
Oh.
This
We
is
brought you
just a
some
little
roses.
novelty we do. We give these out free. And it's not just for little girls.
Yeah.
See, y'all are smiling. They make you happy. We give these out free. This year, we make these. I mean, they're really not anything special, but everybody wants one. This year, we made 2,200, and we ran out before the end of the festival. It's okay for men to put them on.
Go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Did you say that?
Like you said, like I said, we like to have fun. Our T-shirts, hoodies, every year there's a new picture on the front. That's because we have artists enter a contest.
Very nice.
So that's another thing that somebody can do. They can win the contest, and then the winner, of course, gets on the T-shirts and the hoodies. Our marketplace, we are in Main Street Square. We were crowded this year, but we managed to squeeze everybody in. We have vendors that they sell their services and their goods and stuff. But we also have nonprofits, which is our heart. We love the Monarchs from the mountain. We have a booth, native plants for this area. The Tulsa Rose Society was there. The Oklahoma Conservation District, their yard by yard program. And all these people are just there because they love what they do. They will talk with you all day. They will give you resources. It's very exciting. So Beverly is going to let us know about our kids zone, which is also in the
Okay.
marketplace.
Well, our Kids Zone has grown every year. One of our goals is that no child would ever hear the words, we can't afford that, or not today. One of our big features is our Kids Zone with the kites. We have a big kite event on Sunday. We realize we go 3 days. We start at 8 o'clock on Friday morning and run till 7 o'clock on Sunday night. So it's a hoot. We think it's fun. But anyway, the kites tent, we're very lucky. We have 3 solid churches that help us each year. First Baptist, bless their hearts, leads the Kids Zone tent that has all of the kites that we have provided. And we have stations there that stay full all day long. You can see the smallest child who can hold a crayon, or they have to have magic markers, all the way up to adults and grandparents designing kites. We do that, and then we have First Baptist does that, leads that, and then First Christian comes Friday night and does free crafts on Saturday morning. Is First Methodist. We are open to other churches and nonprofits to do that for our Free Kids Zone. And then on Saturday afternoon, we've had all recycling, because that's what we do, keep Broken Arrows run. 4 major recycling and statewide awards this year for all that. So anyway, they had a recycling booth where they were teaching recycling, and everything they did was recycled materials. So very proud of that. Well, moving on, though, we got to tell you about kites. Kites is so exciting. Have you all been out to kites? Oh my gosh! Did you see we had good wind this year? Major kites were out there. We are still in the running for the 2026 convention for the American Kite Flyers Association. And the president and vice president of the American Kite Flyers Association have been here. We had kite enthusiasts from Washington, Seattle, Washington, Colorado, Missouri, all over Oklahoma. Again, a wide demographic there. It is just such a hoot to see these stations. We have 24 stations, and they're full all day long. Families getting together and having fun. And then to see the kites in the sky is just too fun for words. So just to let you know, we can't do this without your support. We can't, we had one of the largest, well, we did have the largest historic kite exhibit in the Southwest at our festival this year, which meant yet another 20 by 40 tent. And all the tents we set up for all of the features that we have going, the cash prizes for the art contest, the cash prizes for roses. It's such a big deal. And we do it because we love our city. We love our city, and we want people to come and see who we are and what we do here. We met some people that were up here from Yukon, and they said they were just kind of coming and looking at houses and thinking about moving here, and they said, this is a cool community. We're going to move here. And that's what it's all about. We want people to see who we are. So we can't thank you enough for your support, and we're very grateful. And if you have any suggestions on where these festivals should go in the future, we want to hear from you. It's not just our nonprofits doing this. It's our citywide project. So let us know. Do you have any questions for any of us, Jennifer or me, about the festival?
Did you figure out how much you guys raised at the festival this year?
We're still working on that.
Okay.
We have some beginning numbers, everything that we share, everything, every artist vendor, every marketplace vendor, every one of those fees is divided between Chalk It Up and us. No matter what we're doing, it's split in the middle.
Sure.
That still hasn't been decided. We don't know what's left from our funds that you are giving us, because all that goes back to kites and tents. I can let you know our initial invoice for kites this past year was $4,000. Yes, but anyway, luckily we have good sponsors. And I do want you to know Stony Creek came through with some sponsorships this year, and a lot of those out-of-town kite enthusiasts that are part of American Kite Association were able to stay where they would have the convention. So
nice.
That was really big. So, yeah, but
Yeah,
we can
that's
get those
huge.
numbers to you. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Can we do that for you? Anything else?
What can we do to help you get that convention here in 2026?
Well, I think they're so impressed with us, our passion, our free kites. I think we've done everything we can. We've had them in the best place to have the convention. I think they've seen who we are. And
As a
by
city,
the way,
could we reach out on behalf of you guys to let them know, like our tourism group?
They applied last year. The
Okay.
first time they mentioned the convention, Lori Hill sent out an application. So they know we're hungry. The vice president of the Kite Association is a member of our committee. And if you were out there and saw that huge kite that spanned up, he created that.
He makes
He
his own
created that
kites.
kite. Oh, did you see it up there? We didn't know you'd see the pictures. Can you
Yes.
see it scanning the
He's
sky?
incredible. He
Yeah.
makes his own kites.
He created that, every bit of it, and he's on our committee. So we're very, very blessed with our leadership. And,
I was unable to go to Chalk It Up because I was out of town with family, but I made it in at the very end of the Kite Festival. And it was, I mean, it's so fun because when you drive up on the Creek Turnpike and you
And you
see
see
all
it.
those huge kites. And so we went over and hung out for a
Isn't it
little bit
fun?
at the very end, and it was,
But by
it's
the way-
super impressive.
We have been asked to extend it, so we're looking at going to 5 this year.
Yeah, we're extending our hours.
Extending our hours, and
Good
I tell you
job.
what, we work so hard in the Rose District, and we just come out there sunny and have fun like everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a wonderful thing, and it's all for our city because we love our home. Any other questions?
No, we appreciate it, and I love that our city has so much to offer and so passionate about bringing things that our citizens can be involved in, whether you're an outdoor person, indoor person, et cetera. You can find something here in the city to do so. We thank you all for your hard work and your passion and your dedication as well. And also by 2026, we'll have a working amphitheater out in the events park, which is another draw for people to come. And
Well, just thank you for helping us keep it free.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. So that was item 7A and B for informational purposes. Item 8 is citizens' opportunity to address the council on general topics related to city business or services. No action may be taken on matters under this item. We have one citizen, David Oldham.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. The last time I was here, we discussed a bunch of different things, and you decided differently than I was hoping. But I learned a few things that happened that night, and it has caused me to think, and since I'm back again tonight, I wanted to address them. And that was that how we do public testimony often, I was hamstrung because I had 3 minutes to speak. The presenter of the idea had 15 minutes, and then was called up after every single one of us got up and got our 3 minutes in and whatever questions you had for us, and got to rebut every single thing we came up with. In fact, one of our speakers had to change his talk to try to rebut with his 3 minutes some of the things that were being said. And I am concerned, and I would leave this for you because I don't know exactly how to address it, but I am very concerned that we, the public, although we are actually the sovereigns over the city of Broken Arrow, are actually being given the lower shrift in how we are being addressed, that the city bureaucrats are getting all the time in the world. And maybe we the people don't approve, and in my particular case, I had some constitutional problems, and unfortunately, the time frame just doesn't lend itself. Found myself in that same position again tonight, because to give a lesson on everything that needs to be discussed about something that's coming up, it would take me quite a bit more than 3 minutes. So I would beg you to consider how the meetings are run and how we are giving our testimony, and whether we the people are actually having enough chance to rebut those things that are being presented, because I know there were things that went unsaid. And I've seen that at every meeting, and it finally dawned on me just exactly what was going on, and I hope I have made that clear, kind of what I see. And I don't know, again, I don't know what to do about it, but I hope you guys will think about it and consider it for our sake, for all of our sake. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Item 9 is general council business. 9A, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of and authorization to execute a 5-year contract with Exxon International for the purchase of 120 Taser brand conductive electrical weapons, and approve and authorize execution fiscal year 2024. Chief Berryhill.
Mayor, but just real quick, I asked that this be placed on the general business because of the importance of this, and I think that the chief his staff can thoroughly explain the reason why we're coming before you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Wimpy, Vice Mayor Gillespie, City Council, Mr. Spurgeon, City Manager. The item before you is for the approval for the 5-year contract for Axon. Without going through every line of the 2.5-page item here, the main thing is currently we have a Taser product by Axon. We'll have a PowerPoint presentation very short here in a second. I have with me Captain Steve Smith, our subject matter expert. The current platform we have is an X2, so it's just the model that we currently have for the tasers. The next model coming out is an X10. There is an X7 in between there. We had caught wind that there was going to be a large price increase later this month of 12%. Because of that increase of the price, and we looked at some buyback operations and some discounts, if we were able to secure a 5-year contract with Taser at this meeting, over the course of that 5 years, we're going to save at a minimum $74,000 because we know we'll save the 12% this month. That locks us in with Taser for the next 5 years. Who knows what the price increase will be the next year, the next year, the next year. There are some inherent problems with piecemealing us together with roughly 120 Tasers out in the field operations, not counting headquarters, jail, things like that. Cross-training on 2 different platforms does create problems because the items that the officers are carrying are different in case we need to share batteries or whatever that is, or cartridges, and there is that upfront savings. And so what we have done is we have gone through and identified different funding sources, whether those be capital improvement projects that were completed under the budget or reprogramming some things to pay for the Tasers to do this up front. Normally we would buy about 30, 35 Tasers a year. We're just paying for that up front. So much like when you buy a fire truck and you pay for it up front, you save the money. This is roughly the same equivalent type of operation. So the biggest item on here is a CIP project for vehicles. There's $205,000 to go towards the Taser project. Whether you look at it fortunately or unfortunately, there is no police cars out there to be bought. We have secured 18, 19 vehicles already this year between Animal Control, Headquarters Division, and Patrol. There are no more police cars that we are able to purchase, so that $205,000 is just sitting there. So we have cobbled together various funding sources between the vehicles. We're delaying a security camera update. We have some other projects that were named as to be determined later, whether that be asset forfeiture or some other funding sources. And all that together has brought us to the $331,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Captain Smith. Very short 5-slide presentation, and he can answer any type of question about tasers. He has tased many of us, and he knows everything about tasers. So I'll turn it over to Captain Smith.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Mr. Spurgeon, thanks for allowing me to come in this evening and explain a little bit. It is pretty brief, but I wanted to explain where we're at currently with the police department with this technology, and then the need we found ourselves in this year to expedite a timeline, to make a transition and a choice, and also the financial benefits for making this on an accelerated timeline. So if we can go ahead and go to the first one. Just a little bit of facts about Taser, and I know we were in a discussion earlier this week that the use of Taser and its involvement in law enforcement has been one of the real transformative changes in law enforcement since we've been in. We use it much more frequent than we probably envisioned when they first came on scene as a technology. But the Broken Arrow Police Department, again, as I stated up here, it's become a standard for less lethal options in law enforcement in general. It's the United States, the world, Taser ships internationally to all kinds of different law enforcement agencies, and they are a sole source vendor for the Taser itself. There's not really another good option. There's lots of handheld stun guns where you have to be close enough to touch somebody with, but for a standoff, safe option for officers to be able to resolve something from a distance, that's really the only true option we have available to us to make a decision on. So as a department, we started first using and deploying Tasers with one of the older models, the X26, in 2004, which is what I started with. I came on board as the administrator. I've been running our Taser program for the department since 2016. So midway through the switch on the new platform that we're currently using, the X2. We started that in 2013, and I jumped in the middle of that, and it took us 6 years to transition, and the training program and trying to run 2 different platforms and run simultaneous equipment, and the difference in training 2 different platforms with officers and keeping everything lined out proper is kind of a bit of a headache, which we're looking to avoid with this accelerated switch. And so currently we have in the neighborhood of 167 units department-wide. We issue one to all officers from captains below. We have a few majors that have them, and we want each officer when they show up to an issue, because we don't know if we were to potentially share them, who's going to show up to work that day and have one or not have one, and we always want to have one in the hands of the officers to be able to deal with the situation that could be dangerous to them or the suspect whenever they get there, and it does release us from a lot of issues when it comes to liability and the potential of injury to officers, and just the financial impact that worker comp claims and stuff like that can also impact the city beyond the cost of the device itself. So that's kind of currently where we're at. You can advance to the next slide if you would. Okay, so the retiring of the X2, again, we started fielding them in 2013, and because it's an electronic device, TASER themselves as a manufacturer will only guarantee the safe operation and reliability of the system for 5 years from manufacturer, and that goes, they put the same 5-year timeline on batteries and the cartridges themselves that we have to load and reload if we use the device. So we operate on a system of replacing them every 5 years is what we're looking at. And last year, Axon started signaling that they were bringing a new product model online, that TASER 10, and that it would become available this year, and that they would be looking at, but they didn't make an official announcement of rolling the X2 off a production line. They didn't want to have to staff and put multiple production lines in process. So when they rolled it out, the TASER 10, and made the announcement in January, it was just a couple of months after that that they sent out a notice that they were officially going to retire it in March 31st of 2024. So we knew that we had to start making a decision because we have a fifth of our stock that rolls off every year and we replace, and we needed to replace a fifth of that next year. And we started budgeting, initially looking at what we needed to put together for numbers to put into next year's budget. And in speaking with the TASER rep on putting those numbers together, they told us about the potential price increase that was going to come about starting in January. So even though they're discontinuing the product of the TASER itself, they will support this X2 for another 5 years with the consumables, the batteries, and the TASER cartridges. So even though we have that number on hand, we can continue to use it for 5 years. But again, we needed to roll off approximately 30 of them next year, and then 30 the next year. And so it just turns into a compounding problem. And so we had to come down to a choice. The only two other product lines that they were going to support is the TASER 7, which the chief mentioned was already, it's been out for like 4 or 5 years, and then the TASER 10 model. And so we looked at the benefits of which one is probably the best option for us to go to. So if we go ahead to the next slide, I put together a few just to give you some of the technicals, and if you let me get through that, if you have questions about some more of that, I'm here to answer any of those for you. But the TASER 10, the upgrades over the other product lines that they have, and that's a representation of what the product is going to look like. One of the biggest and most upfront sell points is the fact of extending the distance out even greater. So the maximum we have to deal with a subject if they're armed with a knife or whatever is creating that risk for us is 25 feet away from the person, which is still relatively close when we're talking about a potential life-threatening situation. The TASER 10 is extending that out, so their range is increasing to 45 feet with that. And the TASER 7 doesn't have that. It's still within the 25 range. So weighing the two options to us, that's the big sell point for that. But it also, the older models, all of previously, they fired 2 air cartridge probes at the same time, and you're dependent on if you got 2 of them or both of them on the suspect at the same time. The TASER 10 has individual cartridges that fire, and there are 10 opportunities to get a good connection to incapacitate a suspect with this product. So we could miss up to 8 times and still it become effective in that case. So that's another advantage over the TASER 7. The operator is more in control of the accuracy of where those probes are going so that they do get a good electrical path to incapacitate somebody if that's what we're needing to do in the situation. And even though you can shoot somebody 10 times with it, with the probes, the system itself is a smart program. It's also reason why it costs so much. It reads the electrical connection in real time and will select and only energize the 4 best cartridges that are fired on the suspect to get the optimal result out of it. So you can't really overuse it even though it's got 10. Okay. And then the next one, next slide. The old systems all had a red targeting laser, which if you're out in the daylight, it washes out with the sunlight. They've changed that based off of product reviews to a green laser, so that's another benefit of the 10. There is a change TASER really is focused on trying to get ability to de-escalate situations with the mere presentation of it. And so you used to have an arcing electrical arc across the front of it. Now it's got a tone, an electronic sound to try to trigger somebody to make the decision that, okay, I don't really want to have to mess with that. The old batteries, we buy them once and we got to use them for 4 or 5 years and then have to toss them out. These are rechargeable batteries on the new system, and it also allows us to expedite our follow-up investigations if we use one, because you take that battery out and you plug it into a docking station, it recharges it and extracts the data immediately. The officer is just able to grab another one and then move on and go back out into the field and deploy it. And just the last few, it has an increased water resistance level. We've actually had to retire several over the years because they're out in the middle of a rainstorm and water intrudes in the system. It is an electronic device and it ruins the circuitry and stuff like that. This is supposed to be geared towards being a little bit more hardened to that hazard. And then one of the abilities to defeat the system for suspects was to be able to grab and pull and break probes. Well, this new one, the way they engineered the cartridges, the wire is spooled in the cartridge itself, so as they pull, it just spools out more wire, prevents them from being able to break it. So that's the tech side of it, the techie things. And then I've got one more slide which will emphasize again, I think, some of the financial impact and benefit from making the decision tonight. We looked at the numbers. We would have to purchase, if we moved the entire department over, we would have to look at buying 170 of them. So we looked at the best benefit for what we need to do now, and it was to, instead of buying 170, to reduce that number to 120 units now, so that we can switch all of our uniformed officers all at the same time, have them all on one system. And that 120 number would allow us to do that. We would maintain the X2s that we have in stock and still have viable service life in use with our non-uniformed officers. That would be detectives. We use them with our court marshals, with our jail staff, our reserve officers. We're going to continue to get that useful life out of them for the 50 or so that we're going to keep in service because of that. And then our recommendation is to go ahead and make the 120 up front. If we went with our old process of buying 30 at a time, if we just bought 30 this year, we would get it at 2023 prices. If we bought 30 next year, we would be under the 12% increase. They've been holding steady at 4 to 5% over the years, but this is the first huge jump. And so, again, the chief already mentioned that it could be a 10% cost increase every year. So we avoid that for 5 years with this 120 if we buy them all up front. And so accelerating it all into one purchase, that next bullet point up there, if we avoid that 12%, that's about $39,000 in savings to do them all in 1 year. And then I expressed concern with the sales rep about we had just purchased some in July, 29 of them, and the cost associated with that as an incentive to go ahead and get us to make the decision to switch. They're offering us a buyback credit to fund us for the useful life that we've already used up of those X2s that we just purchased. So it's a partial credit for what we spent, but it's $20,000 that they're going to give us for that if we choose to do that. And the kicker on that too is they don't want them back. They're going to let us keep and use them. So it's just an incentive essentially. We don't have to trade them into them. And then the contract allows us to spread the refund over 5 years, or the cost of the contract. But they're giving us another incentive to go ahead and accelerate it and pay it all up front in 1 year. So that was another $15,000 for a full upfront purchase and payout in year one. So by executing the contract tonight, if we choose to do that, then we'll avoid that 12% increase, and we get to take the benefit of those two incentives that they're allowing us to do. And the deadline for making that decision, that's why it's accelerated timeline, before we can't get into it, yeah, for you all is tonight, because TASER needs to have it returned to them by December 15th to get that current cost locked in.
Any questions?
Questions?
I'm all about saving money, and it sounds, I mean, I'm glad that we're getting the better ones and that you can get further away from the bad guy, because that's important. We want to keep our officers safe. But I appreciate that you're looking on ways to save the city money. I really appreciate that, even though it's a big upfront cost, it's still saving us a lot.
So how long has the X10 been out? Is it this year? Is it a new?
They had
it's
a
brand new
test
model?
program. They started with some test cities at the beginning of the year. They just had a limited rollout. they're actually just now taking full release production line orders. That's another reason for getting on now as we get in line. And if I can, I did have another response because I was asking them about that.
So they did come out earlier this, like, there's other people that have been guinea pigs.
They've
Right.
used them,
Yeah.
they work good.
I did a demo earlier this year at a conference, and so I got to see there's, going from the X2 to the X7, it was nominal upgrade. It's like, jumping ahead 4 different models on the phone. But the changes between what we have and the 10 is so great.
Right.
That it's worth the upgrade. But, we would be normally just spending a little bit every year. We're really spending the same amount of money to go to the new platform. We're just doing it up front to lock in the price and save money over the course of 5 years.
Okay.
Right, and so they gave me and I don't know if you know the inner workings of your department on yours, but they told me that you guys are entering in, Tulsa County Sheriff's Office is, for the TASER 10, at least some part of it. Enid PD has already entered into a contract with them. Edmond, their staff is taking it to their council next week for the TASER 10. And then nationally, some of the large departments that are making the switch over to it are Houston, Boston, Louisville, New Orleans, San Antonio, LAPD, and Seattle. So a lot of the larger departments are switching to it. It's got a lot of great benefits that hopefully I outlined for you over the other product, and that's why it's in huge demand.
I can tell you that it is a definite benefit to the officers on the street and out there. I don't know how many times, it's saved a use of force, a hand-to-hand combat kind of thing, because when that light comes on, oh, okay, they'll go down. It saves injury to the suspect and to the officer. So it's definitely a saving device. We have looked at them and tested them. Actually, one of our employees is leaving us to go to work for Axon. It's a legit product. Like I said, it is a sole source product, so you can't get anything else like it anywhere else. So if we want to say, let's go and compare, there's nothing to compare.
I'll offer you the first demo if you want to come
Been
out.
there, done that, and I'm good. I am good.
And I think my main question, because I'm all about, like, everything, us having the best of everything. I just want to make sure that, what is the warranty again?
It's 5 years.
Okay, so it is a
they
5-year
build in-
full-
It's like computers are 5 years.
Right.
Everything has a life expectancy, and it's a mini computer, and so anytime it's used for whatever reason, it downloads, it keeps track of for auditing purposes, and so for us to be in compliance when we go to court saying how it was used, either it worked or didn't work, we have to stay within that manufacturer's recommended warranty. Like vests expire every 5 years,
Right.
and we have to replace those. So it's, but the 25 feet going to the 45 feet is a monumental change.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
way the old one works, it would shoot up 2 probes at the same time, and they would do this. So you had to be close enough that they both hit the target.
Right.
This, it's a straight shot. It's more traditional, what officers used on a weapons platform, so it's easier to shoot. It's more accurate. It's further away. Increased distance makes more safety.
Yeah. And the only because y'all know I've been a technology rep for a long time. And I'm always get nervous when it's a brand new, like, this is the new version and we all want to get out and sell it. But then it's like, okay, I hope nothing goes wrong with these, the first year, because that's when all the stuff happens and so I just want to make sure that, there is a good warranty and that, and it's a company that honors their warranty. And
Yes, and it includes the package. For the number that we buy, they provide some additional spares for us if we have something that goes down and we have to send in, so it's not putting officers down without a tool to use. And they do frequent software updates on it because it is a smart device, and so some of that just gets pushed out with that battery download. You put it on the dock, and if there's some fix to bugs in the system, they update it as they go along. The warranty is really for the hardware thing. If a circuit board goes bad or a screen display or
Right.
something like that, and we can send it in and get it replaced.
And switching platforms requires everyone to go through training all over again, and having one platform for patrol is a huge thing, because training different people to use different systems on the same job at the same time, it just creates problems.
yeah.
And the multiple probes is huge, because with the 2, if one of them goes into a thick coat or something else, you don't have a connection.
Right.
You've
that
lost
makes
out on the
sense.
efficiency of the device.
Yeah, because then you can make up for it because you're going to have another 8 options to realize why it's not working and choose a different location to target somebody that's going to become effective. And I did want to touch on one point that you brought up, because I think it was on the RFA. We really didn't touch on it right now on the presentation, but This decision tonight is just for 120, which covers the greater department, the uniform, but we will have an additional purchase that we'll probably have to evaluate in a few years. We're continuing to extend out use of the X2s that have service life left, but we'll have like another 50 to replace, plus expansion of the police department if we grow. We add numbers elsewhere, that gives us the ability to adjust that number on an additional purchase later down the road.
And by the way, he's a class A in mine too.
Of course
Of course he is.
Yes.
Y'all had like 10,000 people in your
In that one
graduating
class, I know, the biggest class of Broken Arrow ever.
Class of 1990.
Yeah, 1,092, I think.
That's right.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the 5-year contract with Axon International for the purchase of 120 TASER brand conductive electrical weapons.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Thank you, everyone.
Did you hit
Still
it?
waiting. There's no option to second yet. There's been no motion. Did you click it?
It says I've motioned.
I see her. I see.
Let's see the second motion.
Now
There
you
you
did.
go.
There you
we
go. Or no.
Our computers
It's just
are
slow
giving us
tonight.
fits tonight.
We need to upgrade.
Technology.
We need to upgrade technology.
I can't even second.
It's not working now.
It shows you, it does show that you
It
did,
did
but.
show it on my
I just
side.
recorded it for him.
Okay.
So it's recorded.
There you go.
His is not changing his screen.
Item 10 is preview ordinances. 10A, consideration, discussion, and possible preview of an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 2, offenses against public authority. Permit expiration and renewal, permit revocation, and appeal or denial of revocation, repealing all ordinances to the contrary and declaring an emergency. Trevor Dennis.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Spurgeon. The legal department was requested to draft a permitting ordinance for your consideration, which is what is before you. As you can see, it requires that a permit be acquired by anyone who wants to beg in the city of Broken Arrow. So the way that would work would be they'd go to the Department of Community Development. They would submit their application, their name, their address, phone number, next of kin, provide a picture identification or its equivalent if they have it, a brief description of the activity that they want to conduct. In addition, they'd have to acknowledge that they would comply with our other similar ordinances that would kind of touch in this area, which would be, littering where they were located, as well as wearing a high visibility vest. The preview ordinance has, additional provisions for its issuance, what happens if it's denied, 6 months expiration and renewal provision, the ability for the revocation of the permit, as well as an appeal and revocation process. So it's fairly self-explanatory. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
So I asked to look at this again because I've had a lot of constituents reach out to me for this specific, even more than the water bills. This is like number one that people are calling. So of course, I wanted to bring it back for us to talk about it again. It's in no way restricting panhandlers. They're still going to be able to beg and panhandle in our city, but this will just be a way that, well, for one, if they're truly in need of services, when they come to get the permit, we'd be able to give them resources to get services if they chose to. They don't have to take it if they don't want it, but they'll know that there's something available out there. There was also something posted today on social media wondering if the city council and House of Representatives and senators had to file the same type of paperwork for when we collect donations. And I will tell you that we have to do you all know, I'll tell you, we have to do a quarterly report. Everyone that donates to our campaign, we have to list on an ethics report. And we have to list where they work, their address, their place of employment. Even if they're retired, we have to list where they worked before they retired. Every quarter, whether we spend money or not, we still have to do an ethics report and submit that to Curtis, to our city clerk. And if we spend any money, we have to say what we spend it for. There's a list of things that we can spend it on. It's not a big list. And it's not like the council has a lot of money. It's not like, we're not like senators and representatives. They have a lot of money. A lot of us don't even have money, and we just close out the account. When you do that, you don't have to do a report. But just to answer the question, it was a great question. But yes, we do have to track who gives us money and what we spend it on, and we have to do that quarterly. So hopefully that answers.
And when you
people.
file to run for a state office, you have to pay a fee just to do that filing.
Is it $500?
125.
125?
And once you
Yeah.
get elected, you're required to go through a class. So there's requirements to
Yeah.
be in the job that we're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, asking a panhandler, beggar to do a free
If it's their
permit,
job.
if it's their
business.
job, because that is, so here's, I think where I got a lot more, also recently, is in Tulsa. There were 10 people arrested because it was fraud. They were raising money for a funeral for an 8-year-old, where there wasn't really a funeral for an 8-year-old. So that was fraud. And so I think it just hopefully would give maybe our officers a little more teeth to, we don't want our citizens are very generous, and they do give money. And we do have the John 3:16 partnership that we do. I don't know how much money people have given to that. I don't know if we've tracked that or not. I don't know how many officers, have called John 3:16 on behalf of, someone that may need some more services. But it's a problem that we have in our city. I've gotten a lot of calls on it from constituents, and I just wanted to bring it back just to have the conversation on if we need to try to make it a little stronger.
Yeah, and I will say, I have gotten more calls about panhandling than any one item this year.
Yeah.
It's something I constantly calls and messages and emails as well. And it's something people are, and not necessarily that they're just so mad because someone's out there trying to get money. It's just, they feel, they don't like it that we allow in the medians and I explain, they have a First Amendment right to be in the median, and they do. But
And we allow them.
Yeah, we allow it.
Yeah.
I am concerned about, we actually had somebody panhandling the other day, and I didn't even think about it being fraud, but it literally was, but it was, they were asking for funeral expenses as well. And so, at New Orleans Square, so.
And they're not generally, what we're finding from, I go to a Safe Neighborhoods meeting once a month, and what the Tulsa officers are saying, and I haven't had this discussion necessarily with Chief Berryhill, but they're seeing, they're not poor, they're not homeless. They are literally, this is what they choose to do to make money, and they make a lot of money. And they're not homeless, so they're not poor people. They're literally making, some of them, $500 a day, depending on where they're at or what they're doing. So that's what Tulsa said anyway.
Well, it's like a job to some people.
It is a job.
Some people that are truly, truly in need, hopefully some of the resources we can offer them will help them get out of that situation. Again, we're not making them take any resources, and we're not allowing them to peddle in our city. But I do feel like sometimes it is a job. And also, you don't really know either, because what typically you see, and I'm sure you probably heard this in your Safe Neighborhoods meeting, is, there'll be a male begging for the money, but there'll be a female sitting to the side and a child, or a dog and a child. And who knows if that female and the child are even related, or, spouse, or who knows?
In a safe situation.
Who knows if they're even in a safe situation, because it seems to be that's what you see the majority of. It's the same thing. And their signs all look the same, so it looks like someone probably does all the signs for them and then hands them out, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a question. If I'm someone that sells at the farmer's market, can I go and sit on the corner and just sell my stuff on the corner?
Or do you have to have a?
We regulate commercial speech, and that's different from begging speech. The courts classify those as different. So we have different regulations for commercial speech, yes.
Okay. But is it not still under your ability to earn a living?
No, it's not. So First Amendment, protections would cover let's say, a political candidate that wants to, say, vote Republican or Democrat or whatever party that you are. Or if you want to go and preach, the gospel or your religious beliefs, courts look at requesting charitable donations as that type of speech, not commercial speech. So commercial speech would be selling a product, going down to the farmer's market, going door to door, selling vacuums.
Okay.
Trevor, how would this stand up in, I know we read a little bit about it, but in the, as far as the Constitution, the lawsuit, or anything like that, how do you think this would stand up in court?
No, that's an excellent question. We did significant legal research on this. As you know, we're in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, so we want to look at our precedent as well as the U.S. Supreme Court precedent. So the most similar case that we have in the 10th Circuit is a case that we've talked about extensively already, Oklahoma City. They were hit with $1 million judgment, and what they had done is they basically regulated this type of speech in their medians, their shoulders, their right-of-ways, and they just prohibited it as a blanket.
Right.
What you have before you is a little bit of a different regulation, but it's going to be subject to the same scrutiny, which is strict scrutiny. So a court that looks at strict scrutiny and applies that to an ordinance will say, is there a compelling government interest involved in regulating the activity? And then they'll ask, if there is this the least restrictive means available to the government to achieve that compelling state interest? In McCraw, they said no, not at all. They didn't get anywhere near that because there was a blanket prohibition on it. That same test was applied to a city called the city of Slidell down in Louisiana. Now that city is in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, so that's not what's considered precedential authority, but it is very persuasive because it's the exact same type of ordinance that was adopted by the city. The court, when they looked at that, they said, look, your compelling government interest is public safety, but this is not the least restrictive means available to achieve the public safety, meaning a blanket requirement that everyone who wants to panhandle has to get a permit, they said was an overly broad approach, and they described it as a sledgehammer when a scalpel should be used. So, when you look at that case, it makes it very difficult to think that a similar type of approach here would survive a challenge. I think that we'd have the same analysis here.
So what's recourse if I don't want to get a permit? What onus are we putting on our law enforcement, et cetera, if they refuse to get the permit?
Well,
if they're denied a permit and decide to go and panhandle anyway?
Yeah, it would be a violation. It would be a ticketable offense. This body, at their discretion, could set what the fine would be. You could have it up to a Class A offense with up to a $750 fine and/or jail time.
So 2 days of begging.
2 days of begging. Yeah, tax-free.
So do we right now require a permit for protests and because it seems like we do. I don't have it all memorized. So but that's my question. Do we require a permit? Like if someone wants to do a big protest?
Well, for example, I think we had a Black Lives Matter, I think we classified it as a parade previously, where they're, taking over the entire street and marching down the street. So there is a process to get permission to do something of that nature.
Okay.
Protest, that could be any number of things. If it's just me with a sign and a median saying, I love whatever, or I'm against whatever, that you could consider that a protest.
Okay.
And no, we don't regulate that.
Okay. So it's more just big groups, like if it's a group.
If it would be, again, the one that comes to mind is a parade, is the only thing I can think of.
Well, it seemed
Anything
like there
that,
was something, it might have been the Black Lives Matter thing, but because they were doing something at City Park.
right, and we do have special events
Okay.
requirements if there's going to be a large gathering
Okay.
on city property.
Okay. In the Slidell one, do we know if they charge for the permit? Because it says permit from the police. Is that the same thing as a permit, like a city permit, or do they have? We don't have a permit from the police, so.
Right. They just decided to have their police department handle the processing.
Oh, okay.
Here, it's just community development.
Okay.
Who you decide to process that wasn't really important to their analysis.
Okay. Trying to look at all my questions here, because I tried to read all this, but it's a lot of words.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of
It
words.
is.
It's a lot
So-
of words and all this.
And I had someone
but I did
bring it
read
up to
most of
me,
it.
one of our constituents.
Mhm.
Are we making it illegal to be homeless? We're making it a crime to be homeless.
Well, we're not talking about homeless people.
Yeah.
This is panhandling, and we're still allowing them
I
to
mean,
panhandle.
we don't know if everybody who panhandle is homeless or not,
Right.
but
Right.
We're not restricting them from begging.
Oh, no, they can
They
still
can still beg.
panhandle.
They can still do it in the center median, because that's what Oklahoma City didn't let them do, and that's why they got sued, is because they didn't want them in the median. And I mean, we're already allowing them to do that. So, I mean, they're still able to do it, homeless or not,
If they get a permit
if they get a permit.
and leave their phone
but
number.
if they don't, then, no.
I just don't want to make it that strict that prohibit them from doing it. You know,
Right.
I understand people, I was more concerned with somebody getting hit, you know what I mean? And I understand they can stand in that center median, they can stand on the curb, you know what I mean? And I understand that. That was my concern with them standing, especially with kids. But, you know, I have the right to not give them money, and I'm not being mean here. I'm just saying that I have driven by. I felt kind of guilty, but go ahead and drive on by them. So it really does not bother me. Now, every once in a while, I have given money to someone, so I have the right to do that. I just don't want to make it so tough on them that the homeless, if they possibly are homeless, I don't know that they're going to be able to afford a permit. And so there's going to be a fine line there of whether a person can afford that or whether.
There's not gonna be a charge.
Permit's free.
It'll be free. The permit will be free.
But if they're denied though, then
Now, why would they be denied permit? What do you mean?
There's provisions in there, so for
They have to be
example.
18.
Yeah,
Over
they've
the age
not
of
submitted
18.
a completed application, they've submitted false information, or if they're under the age of 18. I will say, in the City of Slidell case, the court did look at even the requirements of having to go and get a permit itself. They considered too much of a restriction for the speech that was involved. Again, going back to the strict scrutiny analysis, they say, what's a compelling government interest? Is this the least restrictive means to achieve that interest? And then, again, having them, an analogous situation would be, what if you were having somebody have to get a permit to go and give political speech? What if you're requiring somebody to have a permit to give religious speech? Any of those types of First Amendment type speeches, that's what the court considered, and they said that having everybody who panhandles have to get a permit, even going through the process, when not everybody was a problem as a permitting, as somebody who's begging, not everyone is going out into the road, not everyone is failing to wear a high visibility vest, not everyone is committing fraud, like you've noticed. And so they encouraged the city basically to look at ways to tailor their approach. Some examples that they gave of things that they thought, they didn't say would 100% because they don't give perspective opinions, but they said something similar of consideration of cameras at intersections that monitored problem areas, for example, would be more of a tailored approach that would not be, that might be the least restrictive means. Having increased police presence or patrols in problem areas, things of that nature, rather than what they described as a hammer approach where you gather in everybody and you have to have this blanket requirement for everybody, whether a problem or not.
I have such conflicted, I'm so conflicted about this because I want to, this is what I want. I want them to be able to panhandle, but I want someone to be responsible for when they leave all their trash sitting there, because I've been by when it's obvious that whoever was panhandling left a bunch of trash because it wasn't there and then it was there. So, but then also I want them to get services, and I want to make sure that I just intuitively feel like that there are a lot of people that are panhandling, that there's something funky going on there, that there is, because it's too contrived.
Organized,
It's
yeah.
too like, there's a man and there's a woman and there's a little girl and they're sitting the same way and they have the exact same sign. And I just want to make sure that these people are truly safe and that, I mean, that's what I want. I mean, however we can get to that, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so, because I don't trust that what they're doing is true, they're doing it for the reason they say they are. I don't know that they're panhandling so they can put food on the table. And I don't even know that that woman and that little girl belong to that man. And so I just want to make sure that they're getting services offered somehow in our city, and however, I mean, maybe that's doing something with our churches and figuring that out. I mean, that would be awesome. But we've got to figure out a way to help these people and make sure that there isn't something weird going on.
I just want to make sure we don't take away their constitutional right, you know what I mean, whether they get a permit or whether they turn in their identification or whatever. They don't, it's not have to take them out of the way. In other words, they don't know where to go get it, you know what I mean? Just make it so difficult. I do have a problem with people doing it, but there is a need from some people, and I don't want to throw the baby out with the wash, so to speak.
We need to
So we're
remember
going to
that
end up with
about
part of
fireworks.
it, you know, and we're willing to do whatever, as I think I'm hearing people say, or the council say, to help, you know what I mean, if we can work with churches or whatever to do that. I thought maybe what we went through with the sign, or getting people to encourage them to give, you know what I mean, to the John 3:16 or whoever we decide to give that to. I just want to make sure they have that constitutional right. You know, we just got back from Atlanta, and I'll tell you, it's full of people, you know what I mean, panhandling. In fact, I got stopped on the sidewalk at night. A guy stopped in front of me on a bicycle and wouldn't let me through. Then a guy behind me was trying to, both of them said they needed to ask me questions. Both of them were panhandling, but I couldn't get down the sidewalk, so I did the next best thing. I got out of there. I told them I wasn't going to answer their questions. But those of us who went to Atlanta saw that on all the sidewalks, and it's been that way. I can remember going to there on council convention 30 years ago, and there was a panhandling problem. In fact, they would even announce during the NLC, don't stop, don't give them money, you know, during that time. So it is a problem. I just want to make sure we don't take away their constitutional rights. Not that it would cost us money, because it might if we lost a court. I just don't want to be a party of that, so.
And
Well,
Councilor
and-
Parks, to that, we had passed that aggressive panhandling ordinance. So, for example, what you just described would be illegal in Broken Arrow because it's an aggressive manner that would put you in
Right.
reasonable fear.
I realize that.
And so,
Right. It was scary, too.
So, since we started the Giving That Makes Sense, I believe we've raised, or like John 3:16 has raised $117 basically. So it's not like a large amount of money has come in through that, but who knows if that's in someone, sending in $5, $1, whatever it is. It's amazing how quickly they all learned that they had to have a vest in our city. So I know, at first I thought, well, how will they even know to go get a permit? I mean, obviously, officers would have to stop, so then you think about the load that you put on for an officer to have to stop. But that also gives the opportunity for them to see what are your needs, what can we do, and here are some resources. So it gives another opportunity for us to be able to reach out and hopefully meet their needs, right? But I don't know that the permit is gonna make it that much of a difference anyway. And if they don't even know where to go to get it or how to get it,
Or have a way to go get it.
or have a way to go get it,
And
right?
then we're going to maybe fine them some if they don't have it.
Right.
So,
You have to-
yeah, and I'm not like married to the permit idea, I just wanted us to have
Right,
the
have a
discussion.
conversation.
But I would like, the last I saw that we maybe even pushed it out on our city's social media was like in July, when
Yeah,
we
we haven't
first
done a
got the
good job of pushing it
signs.
out.
So I think there's things that we can do as a city. And we may ask Chief too, like, if someone does call in and say, hey, there's panhandlers, okay, panhandling is not against the law, we get that. But can an officer go and check and make sure that the lady and the child, or whoever that man is, if they need other resources, like instead of just like driving by and like, you're in our city, but we're not gonna help you type thing. Like, I get that that's gonna put another burden on the police department, but wouldn't it be a burden too if they're committing fraud and then they're gonna have to arrest them, like Tulsa had to arrest 10 people that were doing the fraud? I mean, to me, it's like prevention. So I'm not saying,
safety
I'm not saying
prevention.
100% I want this permit, but I feel like we need to up our game, I guess. And I did send an email to Lori, a week or so ago, asking her if she could work out with communications for us to do maybe something quarterly or even monthly to remind people, don't give money, to the person, send it to a nonprofit like Broken Arrow Neighbors or whatever.
Right.
But I think we can maybe do our messaging, and even if the police department could put that on their, page as well, just to like do something
scheduled out,
reoccurring,
yeah.
maybe like every month even, just to remind people. Because it's just, when John 3:16 came and talked to us at Rotary several years ago, they said that we're just prolonging whatever issues they've got, giving them the money, giving them the food, giving them the backpack, and just prolonging them to not be successful later on.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anyone's rights away,
Yeah, they have
but
every right to be there.
yes.
Well,
think-
and we talk about workforce in our state and how we're lack of workforce. And yet I feel like we're encouraging it by saying, come work on our corners. And it's when there's,
Job description.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and I don't know how else to put it. And I don't look down on anybody that's doing it, but I'm like, there's just providing
next door is a
other,
job, right.
yeah, right.
There's also other things you have to consider too. If you're gonna have everybody come in here and get a permit, you have some
Well, they
people
could
who
do it
are,
online.
who,
They all have
on their
phones.
laptops.
Well,
Yeah.
no, they have phones. You
They
see them
have
talking
phones.
on, I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen.
but
they
I'm
have
just saying,
phones,
if we're gonna have people come in to get permits too, you have to think about the people who are drug addicts, the people who have mental health issues. Are you going to increase security here for those people who are coming
They have
into this?
phones.
Everybody's not gonna get it on their phone. We're gonna put an address on here. Some people are gonna show up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Right.
gotta consider that.
We're City Hall, though. I mean, we should want everybody coming here. This is City Hall.
Well, most of the people that are out there aren't necessarily our citizens, so.
Right. Right.
There's
not
a lot of
worried.
things to think about.
Well, I'm sorry, but if we're afraid about these people coming into our City Hall, we shouldn't maybe want
I'm
to,
not afraid. I'm a
like,
big guy. I'm just telling you,
stand
there's things we have to think about. I can hold my own.
I mean, I don't really want them next to my car, right next to my car, if I don't want them walking into City Hall. I mean,
And our employees are securely behind a glass, and because people do get upset about their water
That
bills,
seems
and so
weird.
they are safely
They get
behind glass.
Yeah. So, it's,
I'll rest my case.
Well, I would just, if we could just push it out more on social media, if we could see if Aaron could do that, and maybe the police department. Do we need to ask Chief, can we ask the officers to check on the people that they see on the corners to make sure they're okay and offer services, like?
Yeah, we do that. We get a call, we go out there and check on them if they're in compliance with the ordinance, department of foul. We offer services, they almost always decline. And we have taken one fraud report already. And so that's something, if we think they're committing.
Yeah, that's
I forget the
the
title
one I
of the
called in.
ordinance, Trevor. It's harmful deception, I think is what it is. If it's under $1,000,
Right.
we'll take a report. We've already taken one of those. So we offer those services. They are free to accept or not accept those services.
So to clarify, we already have an ordinance that makes it illegal to fraudulently attempt to collect money. So that is already
Okay.
on the books.
and I think this would be a good discussion for our, what is our church, our ministers group, Ministerial
Oh,
Alliance.
Ministerial Alliance, yeah, BAMA.
Of providing info with services as well. I mean, I honestly think there's a lot of things we do in our government that should be
Churches should
done
be
by
doing that.
churches, and that the government shouldn't have to deal with it. But I think it's I'm glad we had this discussion, because we have so many people calling about it. And I think it's good that it's public, that we have tried to explore every option, and
And I guess too, why I'm clarifying that we do have to file with the ethics and everything else. We only get an $80 a month phone stipend to be a city councilor too. Because a lot of people think
So they
we make a
more
lot of
than we
money,
do.
so
Yes.
we'll just clarify, we'll just throw that out there too.
yes,
The poor people make more than we do.
Yes, in a day.
yeah,
Um,
they're not poor.
So-
But I do appreciate you bringing it to us and us having
Absolutely.
the discussion.
Good
And I'm
information.
fine not making, but do we
Yep.
have people to speak?
Yep.
Let's listen to them.
Okay, so we've got David Oldham.
Forgot about him. You were too busy.
Discussing.
Thank you again. I am very pleased with the direction of the conversation. No offense to you, Trevor, but the Supreme Court is not an arbiter we should be turning to when we want to understand the Constitution. Mr. Parks, you asked about the constitutionality. And to go direct, because you know that this is where I stand, is Constitution, Constitution, Constitution. The 14th Amendment says no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. So what we have here is, with every permit, is a blanket deprivation of that which is our right. Now, the Supreme Court has said it's a speech right, but it is a liberty right. I have the right to beg. Never have, never plan to. But if there were to be an ordinance or something like that, I would be compelled to go out and beg without permit, without a vest, because it is my right to do so unless and until I have violated somebody else's rights and have been convicted in a court of law through due process. And so I will protect that right, even though I don't exercise it myself and on behalf of everybody else. And that is, quite frankly, what we need to be teaching everybody else. Now, I'm glad that the 10th Circuit has kind of done what they have done, but strict scrutiny and the various tests that the Supreme Court has come up with are ways to get around the Constitution, compelling government interest, rather than strict adherence to the Constitution. Shall not be abridged, shall not be deprived. There is no compelling interest that allows you to deprive someone without them having gone through the due process first. And that's the problem we have with every license, every permit. Now, several of us were talking, and this is like a hunting license. So when you have the poor who can't afford food, they should have the right, and do have the right, to fend for themselves and get game to feed themselves and their families. They do not have to pay for that right because it is ours inherently by birth or naturalization as American citizens. We are the sovereigns as the people. Government comes along to protect those rights, and that is it. Now, it is very emotional. People get very emotional, and they will say, get rid of these people. I don't like these people. And I understand that, but we need to educate them that it is not the province of government to deprive people. We've got to find better answers, and we have those in law. And again, there's so many more things, but I've run out of time. I will entertain any questions if you guys have them.
Any questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
David. Josh Dinros.
Evening, Council. I was listening very closely to the conversation that was happening, and I too appreciate the direction that it took from where we started to where we ended up just before public comment. Mr. Parks, I appreciate your take and the constitutionality questions that you had. Mr. Green, I appreciate the conversation that you brought up and the questions that you asked as well. Ms. Gillespie, same thing. And but I will say that it's perfectly legal to be poor in America, and you can do that in the public. It's not illegal to be in public and poor. And what we're doing when we ask for a permit and a blanket permit, it's very invasive, and I agree with Trevor as well. It's very invasive. So now you're asking somebody to identify themselves where they're going to be in order to police being poor. And then now we're going to put an offense behind it if they don't adhere to asking permission from their government to be poor in public. And now we've essentially criminalized being poor in America. This is where we got to it. The denial of the permit. In a free America, it can't be denied. So to think that being constitutional and allowing a person to be free and then have to ask permission from the government, that the government can then turn around and deny you that ability to go and have a conversation in public is wrong. It's just wrong. It's completely against the Constitution. It's against what America stood for. When we throw out the blanket judgments, we could do that with anything, right? Everybody downtown, they're all drunk every weekend, so now we're going to shut down downtown. Come on. Like there's some that are absolutely breaking the law, and those need to be investigated. And I trust our police force to be able to do that and get that fraud under control. But doing it for everybody, you're going to disproportionately affect the people who actually are poor. And by saying that the permit's free, it's not free to travel around the city. It's just not. It takes time, especially if you don't have a car, you don't have insurance, you don't have gas. It takes time. You can't buy an Uber. It's still an encumbrance. It's still telling them that they have to pay something to come here, to have a conversation, put their name down on a piece of paper, to have permission to go and survive. You can't do that, even if they're committing fraud. Fraud needs to be addressed on a case-by-case basis, and there's other ways of doing that. What happens to a business? And I've heard it compared to a business, right? But what happens to a business when it doesn't make money? They shut down or they move, right? So how do we take the money away? And I think that public campaigns, social media campaigns, communication campaigns is the way to go. I think that oppressing somebody with licensure is not the way to go. I think it's too invasive. So, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
So do we take action if we're not, we need to take
Take action
some
to have no
action?
action.
It's completely at your prerogative if the conversation is complete and no action would be taken. You have a possibility to preview and set the ordinance for adoption if that's your desire, or you could set this and instruct us to have another item on the next agenda.
So since it's just a preview, though, we could just move
Take no
on with
action.
no action at all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Previewed it.
Okay.
Do you have a motion for that?
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion for no action.
Second.
I didn't know that was a motion.
Yeah, that's what I was confused on too. It's like,
A motion and a second.
never
Roll
You
call.
guys are getting complicated here.
so we're voting for no action.
We're voting to not do
To not do
anything.
Voting for no action.
I love that
Without a
vote.
motion.
Vote to not do anything.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just to reiterate is that I will get with Aaron and I'll put together some type of annual campaign of just reminders of the importance of giving. Definitely want to include Broken Arrow neighbors in there and also talk to the police department about when folks do call in to dispatch, what they should say. I do think it's a good idea for officers to go out and check, make sure they have their vest. We need, even though they're refusing services, I think we should still at least check on them, as the Vice Mayor mentioned, and also make sure that we have information posted on our website where people could actually give.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because it's so easy on social media, you can schedule it out all year long to go out every other week or every week. And so it's just very simple to put the word out for that campaign, so. All right,
Glad to take care of that.
thank you, sir. All right, item 11, there are no ordinances. Item 12, remarks and inquiries by governing body members.
I have something. The Texas Roadhouse in Tulsa, just on the other side of Garnett, is doing a toy drive for our Broken Arrow Fire Department. And if you take a toy by Texas Roadhouse between now and December 10th, which is Sunday, you'll get a free appetizer coupon to use that day, but then also another one to use later on. But it goes through the Broken Arrow Fire Department for their toy campaign that they're doing right now. Or you can just go to the fire department and drop off a toy. You don't have to go to
Yes.
Texas Roadhouse, but anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Community Playhouse is doing a holiday hometown happenings, and Chief Barry Hill is emceeing one day, and then I am emceeing at 2:00 on Saturday, and then I think Senator Hayes is doing maybe Saturday night. So it should be a good show. And Saturday morning actually is the Tulsa Christmas Parade, even though it's not in Broken Arrow, but we'll be granting a couple of wishes to Broken Arrow residents, 3 soldiers' wish that morning, so it'll be pretty cool. So
That's cool.
And go ahead. I heard,
No, you're fine.
Was that
I'll wait.
Okay.
Ladies first.
So, thank you. So I got to attend with Counselor Ford. We attended the Tulsa Chamber State of the Economy luncheon last week. And it's fun when you go to a Tulsa Chamber event and they're talking about the economy, and you have these economists from New York and everywhere. And they're like, and it shows up on the screen, the big screen. It has Broken Arrow at the top, Tulsa underneath it, with our growth. And he was like, I don't know where Broken Arrow is, but they're doing something right, or something like that. We're like,
yes, we are.
Yes, we
Yeah. Had a little cheering
So
going
that was
on
kind of fun.
Yeah, that was
And secondly, I want to say the number 988. And that is the number that you can call if you need assistance, if you are feeling like you need help, that you don't have to call 911, you can call 988. And you can always ask for help. There are people out there that when you call, they will get you resources. They will make sure. And, I think during this time of year, there's a lot of mental health issues that are out there that, if you're prone to depression, or even it's a stressful time of year, and the economy is kind of not great right now, and people are very stressed out. So I just want everyone out there to know you're not alone. And if you do need assistance, call 988. But there's also churches out there. We have so many resources in our city, so many people that care. And I don't ever want, and I know all of us feel the same way, we don't ever want anybody to feel like they have gotten to the end where because you're not hopeless. There's nobody out there needs to feel hopeless. So 988, or call a church. And, and if, I would say, I don't want people calling me like just randomly all the time, but seriously, you can message me. Facebook is out there, and we will find you the help you need. Any of us would. I know that to be true. So that is all.
That's a great segue into the point I was going to make, even though mine's a little lighter than that. But a lot of times, like you said, this time of year, people feel alone. They need something. We just recognized our wonderful animal shelter here in Broken Arrow, and they are actually encouraging people to find a furry friend for the season. So you can go out and you can adopt a pet, go out and check with our animal shelter. Our adoption fees are only $63. So 'tis the season to come out and find a new furry friend for the holidays.
I love that.
Good commercial.
There
I
you
posted
go.
that on my Facebook page too, so it's good. Everyone can post it.
I forgot to mention that this past Saturday, we had probably the most incredible Christmas parade here in Broken Arrow. And I see we've got Mr. Ryan Bays in the audience, and so I might have been stealing
Yes.
what you were going to say, but Ryan, your team did an absolutely
Yes.
incredible job with the Polar Express float this year, and even though we were covered in soap by the end of it,
Snow.
it was so fun.
I was right behind.
The engine had smoke coming out, and snow bubbles were
I was
everywhere.
eating that snow.
He was eating it. I was windshield wiping off my
I was telling my
Don't eat the
grandsons,
yellow
don't
snow."
eat the snow.
It was absolutely amazing, and you guys blow it out of the park every single year. So thank you for all your creativity and hard work that you guys put into it.
Great job.
And I love that so many city staff comes out too with their kids, and some ride the float.
We may
and
need a
someone-
bigger float because
Yeah,
we
we
get so
may.
many staff
Yeah.
that come
Are
out.
we saying no?
Need a trailer for the float.
Yeah, we get a trailer for the float.
A little girl, as we were coming back, he was, they drop us off at different locations after the parade, and a mom yelled up at us while we were on there getting ready to park. She says, you were my daughter's favorite float. And I was like, oh, I'll have to make sure Ryan knows that. So he does a great job.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, city manager?
Well, Mayor, thanks for mentioning that float. I think it's a lot of work by Ryan's team, but I think it does a great deal for camaraderie, and also it helps us maintain that big little city feel for the city to be such involved in that. So great job, Ryan, to you and all your team, and please pass it along from the mayor and council. Just a few things. First off, thank you for approving the tasers. I mean, that was a significant purchase, and I want to thank the chief and his staff. They had to do some reprioritizing in order to make this happen. And as Councilor Ford talked about, funding is always a challenge, but great job, Chief. I appreciate that very much. The State of the City presentation is a week from tomorrow, and we're having it at Stony Creek for the first time this year, and it is sold out. We will have the program it'll be on the air, online, I should say. I'm not sure live, but it will be available for our citizens to watch, and I'm very excited. And I'd asked everybody to tune in to get a snapshot of exactly how the city's doing. And I want to finish up with just a quick update for the council members regarding the next meeting. On the 19th, there's going to be a special meeting before the meeting for the council to have a detailed discussion about the citizen survey that we've been putting together that will be going out after the beginning of the year. Aaron and his team worked very hard to put that together along with the two council members. The mayor and Councilor Parks have been a part of that, and we'll get that out to you pretty soon for you all to take a look at. As it was in 2017, it is quite lengthy because it consists of a portion about how the city's doing, comments and requesting feedback on direction. And then there's also a section with regard to general obligation bond projects and what they would like to see, because the way we did it last time was the staff put together their thoughts, we got the thoughts from the citizens, and we reconciled those two together, and then the council came up with the unenviable task of determining what projects would actually make the package that went before the voters in 2018. Same process here. That's going to be before the meeting, and then at the meeting, there's going to be two contracts for your consideration. One is to award a contract for architectural services to look at options for City Hall. And then secondly is there'll be a contract on there for consulting services, help with putting together the estimates for the potential projects for the 2026 bond package. And so there'll be presentations on both of those contracts by the engineering construction or Mr. Schwab, because they are very significant projects we're working on. And that's all I really have, unless you have any questions.
I don't, but I am surprised you didn't talk about our exciting day today.
Today we had a wonderful opportunity to join with Broken Arrow Fire Department today, the mayor and I, for lunch and some new experiences there. We even got to go out on not one, but two calls, both of which were canceled before we got there. But we got to go out on two calls.
Drive around.
So, yes, we do have some very nice firefighting and paramedic equipment here in Broken Arrow. So.
And you probably had a very good meal.
We had BLTs, but it was really great
With
bacon.
pickles.
Yeah,
With
with pickles.
Really?
If you haven't tried it, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, all right.
Magnifique.
I saw that.
All right, we do have an executive session, so I entertain a motion to go into BAMA.
I'll make a, good,
Make a motion, we go ahead and go into BAMA.
second?
Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes. Call the Broken Arrow Municipal Authority meeting to order. Roll call.
Green,
Here.
Ford,
Here?
Parks,
Here.
Gillespie,
Here?
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second? Never mind, Johnny will.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
You win something tonight.
There are no public hearings, appeals, presentation, recognitions, or awards. No general authority business. Remarks from governing body members? Seeing none. City manager? All right, we have no executive session.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call.
Still not. I can enter it for you.
Yes, let's adjourn.
Okay. Call the Broken Arrow Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call.
Green.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Parks. Gillespie.
Here.
Wimpy.
Here. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Oh, yes.
You've got my old computer.
Thanks,
You
John.
switched it out. Item 5 is public hearings, appeals, presentations, recognition, and awards. We have 5A, a presentation for Aspen Ridge Development. Jennifer Rush.
Good evening, everybody. You normally get this under consent, but we put it under presentations because we have some great photos to show of the progress going on at Aspen Ridge. So I just wanted to present some of that. So they're approximately with Research. Like, I want to start out with that because that is probably the most important thing to everybody right now. So contractors are on site with the utilities. Work is progressing. So as of November, we had planned to be completed with the utilities in the end of November, but there was some delays on materials, and so they're about 95% complete. So we do hope that that'll be completed. But you can see we have some pictures. Michael Godfrey went out and took some great drone photos because not everybody travels the vice mayor's
My
roundabout every day, and so they don't get to go back there and see how it looks. So basically, as you can see, whenever this photo basically shows the come and go that's coming up. People have seen gas delivered, people have seen items delivered. Come and go would like to be open before the end of the year. So I mean, it just depends on them as far as construction. Construction is completed. I don't know where they're at with their certificate of occupancies, but they're nearing that completion. Chipotle is also another one that Chipotle has plans to be open before the end of the year. They have basically told me it's just up to hiring and staffing. Right now, it's just not a great time to hire people at this point, so it could be after the first of the year, but they have plans to have that completed. If you want to go to some other plans. So right behind Come and Go is where you see the site for Research right there. So that'll come up pretty quickly once the utilities are completed, the foundation is laid, they've already prefabbed the walls, Crossland has, and so that'll just basically come out and it will rise up and we'll start seeing a lot of things come out of the ground. So the detention pond is another thing that should wrap up in the next couple weeks. So that's going to be needed completed before there's some other development within that area. That had another material delay as well. The right in, right out that you see that's going to go, that is there. It was completed in November. And then sanitary sewer work is ongoing in November. So Chick-fil-A,
I'm so glad you said that word out
It
loud.
hasn't been officially announced.
No,
but
I just asked, can we say that word out loud in meeting? And they
we-
said yes, he said yes,
We
they own
can
the
say,
land.
we do not have approval from Chick-fil-A to announce it, but from the developer, we have approval that they sold, I'll look at it. It is Block 2, Lot 1 to Chick-fil-A. So that is
It's
public
public.
record
It is
because it is
public
sold.
record.
So it is sold, and they have indicated that they will be on site
Can
this
we all
week
just
to
say
begin
thank you?
mobilizing.
Chick-fil-A.
So I know that was, it was
Mark the
speculated.
house.
Chick-fil-A's kind of leaked it out there a little bit, but that is official.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the progress right now, and I hope to be able to bring photos because the next couple months of progress are just going to be still under construction. It takes a little bit to complete that, but as you can see, the site is actually under development right now. So it's very exciting for the public to see that work is ongoing. That additional retailers will probably be able to be announced in the next couple months as well.
Can you tell us where that Chick-fil-A is gonna be at? You gave the lot and block number, but what direction from Research?
It is, Kenny, it's where that right in, right out is, correct?
Yep.
Where Norfolk is, south of Norfolk
Mhm.
and north of that right in, right out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So right in that area.
If we were allowed to announce.
If we were allowed to.
They're out there, they're out there doing things.
We were allowed.
If it was there, it's where it would be.
If it were there. The
that's
developer
where
gave
I
us
were
permission to let us
Chick-fil-A,
know
that's
who
where
he
I would
sold the
go.
land to, so that's what I can announce.
Yeah.
So that'll be in that area, and so there'll be a lot of the frontage that will be coming up and coming out of the ground, and then, Chick-fil-A is also pretty quick as far as construction goes, along with some of the other quick service restaurants, and so it's very exciting, especially being, a resident of South Broken Arrow, that we actually have some additional options, to eat. Very excited about the Reese's, especially that Reese's. We haven't seen any of its kind. Berkshire's is really invested in the community with all the different amenities that they're going to offer in that Reese's as well. And so it'll be first of its kind. So I'm here if you guys have any questions about the progress.
I've heard that the way that they're doing the walls is that the walls are prefabricated for Reese's. And so they'll kind of all go up pretty close. I mean, that's correct? I've never seen anything like that, so.
They'll go up pretty quickly, and I'll defer to Kenny on.
Yeah, the first thing they've got to get the foundation in, and then they'll get their structural steel framing.
Right.
And then the walls are
Okay.
what's called concrete tilt-up walls. So they are pre-manufactured. They'll bring them out, lay them down, and then they'll actually just tilt them up.
Very cool.
A lot of our industrial parks are built with tilt-up walls.
Yeah. I've just never seen it actually happen, so I kind of want to see it.
It'll go pretty quickly, yeah. So we're really excited that people can see progress, and especially once, Come and Go opens, people will see people actually coming into the site. That's always been the plan, that Come and Go is the first one to open within the area. They wanted to be there to have the construction traffic, and it's really going to help the construction go a lot quicker because they'll be able to service, at the gas pumps
Smart.
there.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, if I can, Crossing Construction has a contract, and I have the contractor, the site supervisor. I'll contact him and have him give me some idea. So when they start that, I let the council know if you want to drive by.
Yes, I want to drive by.
She doesn't need an invitation, she'll be driving
Yeah,
by.
they
anyway.
see me almost every day. I drive down Norfolk every day.
On your
almost.
roundabout.
I do. I'm not even going to lie. I totally do.
You're not even a suspicious vehicle.
No, and
anymore.
my
They know
name
who
is
you
like
are.
all over my car. So, yeah.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right,
ma'am.
thank you, guys.
Exciting.
We have no general authority business. Any remarks from governing body members? City manager? We have no executive session.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Good motion and a second. Roll call. Entertain a motion to take a brief recess.
I'll make a motion to take a brief recess and clear the room for executive session
For city council.
for city council, yeah, for city council.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a
We have
motion and a
like
second.
3
Roll call.
seconds.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Lisa?
Lisa. And we all made the
And
second.
everybody said so.
Everybody seconded it. Yeah, so big.
Just pick who you
All
want.
right. Green,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Parks.
Yes?
Gillespie,
Yes.
Wimpy.
Yes.
All right, clear the room.
All